Elon Musk is becoming increasingly unstable, and in this new world where in an instant a figure like him can release his thoughts onto the world with social media, we get unique but also sometimes disturbing insight into what one of the most powerful people's brain is like. And in his case, there's a very reactionary and childish nature to it. And it shows you, as I've said before, yeah, you can have intelligence in some areas and then also be profoundly immature in others. And that's what we're seeing with him. And I'll show you the exchange between him and an astronaut who dared to fact check his claim that the astronauts at the International Space Station have been abandoned by Biden and that it was for political reasons. So before showing you this or reading this exchange to you, if you haven't kept up with this, you have NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams, who are now at the International Space Station, and they were going to have a short trip, but it was prolonged because the Boeing Starliner spacecraft that took them there experienced technical issues. And so then the administration and NASA have been seeking to find a logistically and safe, sound way to bring them back home. And they already fact-checked this claim that Trump was pushing and Musk is pushing, which is a political claim that Biden, just because he didn't want to bring them home, neglected them. And USA Today reports that Starliner astronauts responded to Trump saying they were abandoned, and they said, "We don't feel stuck." And they rejected that claim. But now you have an International Space Station commander responding to Elon Musk after, during his Fox News interview, he said this.
You're committed to getting to Mars. You're committed to rescue. You're going to help rescue next month 2 astronauts that I think were abandoned. They dispute that in an interview.
At the president's request or instruction, we are accelerating the return of the astronauts, which was postponed kind of to a ridiculous degree.
They got left in space.
They've been there. They were supposed to be there 8 days. They're there almost 300.
Biden.
They were yes, they were left up there for political reasons, which is not good.
Yeah. Or technical problems with the spacecraft that took them there. But, you know, people say whatever they want. Now, even when the folks at issue are saying, please stop saying that. And now there's not a reason. It's not like they need to say positive things about Biden because Biden's the president and they want Biden to work harder. No, Biden's not the president. And they're still saying, can you stop making up these claims? In response, Andres Mogensen, who again is a commander of the International Space Station, responded saying, what a lie. What a lie. And from someone who complains about lack of honesty from the mainstream media. And then you might have just seen it, but just guess, okay? You have someone who's very credible, very in the know, a relevant source saying this is not true. What do you think what do you think the most wealthy person on the planet would respond? You are fully retarded. That's how he responded. To read the whole post, quote, "You are fully retarded," Elon Musk says. "SpaceX could have brought them back several months ago. I offered this directly to the Biden administration and they refused. Return was pushed back for political reasons. Idiot. Idiot. You're an idiot." Now, the reasons it was delayed could have been so many. There could have been so many reasons. But they always jump to the most provocative. They always jump to the most political. Now, I want to move from that since we're on the subject of Elon. Childish response. And actually, before moving on from that subject, I did see that Andres responded saying, "Elon, I have long admired you and what you have accomplished, especially at SpaceX and Tesla. You know as well as I do that Butch and Suni are returning with Crew 9, as has been the plan since last September. Even now, you are not sending up a rescue ship to bring them home. They are returning on the Dragon capsule that has been on the International Space Station since last September." But you're an idiot, though. And it should frighten us all that someone of that maturity, of someone of that stability or lack thereof, has the power that he does. What's one of the areas that now he's focused on? Elon Musk, that is? Social Security. And the way that they're justifying the Social Security potential cuts is we're finding so much fraud. And so I want to address that. You've probably heard it. Trump recently had a speech, reiterated something Musk has been saying.
3.5 million people from the age 140 to 149 years old. 1.3 million people are on Social Security from the age 150 to 159. And over 130,000 people are on Social Security over the age of 160 years old, okay? Including 1,039 people, think of it, over 1,000 people between the ages of 220 to 229.
So you can even tell from how Trump's reading out those numbers that he's sort of confused. 1.3 million, is that 400 million? What am I supposed to... And he's just regurgitating claims, or whoever wrote that script is regurgitating claims that Elon Musk has been making that we already know to be false. And it really stems from two things, either dishonesty or a lack of an ability to check their own work. And that connects to something that Caleb Milton at LukeBeTheShow.com wrote about. Genius Doge hackers are disastrously bad at math. And this talked about how they were taking a victory lap over saving $8 billion. And then they had to ultimately admit the billion was actually million. And there was a little bit of a mistake there. And then on this one, you have a fact check saying Musk's numbers, although Musk did not specify a source for the figures he posted, Wolfers and other experts told AFP they appear to come from the Nubanent, an internal database of Social Security card holders. And it outlines who gets Social Security numbers. We know that. Quote, the most likely explanation is that he's looking at the number of Social Security numbers, not the number of beneficiaries. And you had other experts agreeing, quote, Musk confused the existence of a Social Security number with benefits being paid on that number. They're not the same. A 2023 audit from the SSA Inspector General found that as of December 20th, the Nubanent was missing death information for some 18.9 million Social Security numbers corresponding to people born in 1920 or earlier. In other words, those people were marked as 100 or older and alive because they don't have the official information of their death, but that's not the same as them continuing to get benefits. The Inspector General concluded that most of those 18.9 million holders were dead, however, and just 44,000, which the report described as almost none of them, were receiving benefits, which 44,000 of 101,000 Americans who are living above the age of 100, in reality, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. And then it was sort of concluded by the Inspector General when this investigation was done that the reason for the missing records as it pertains to people's deaths, likely because Americans died before the use of electronic death notifications. So it doesn't mean they're receiving benefits, but just that they're still in the system and they haven't technically corresponded that with official records of their death because, again, this happening before the electronic death notifications. And so what Elon Musk actually found was just a whole bunch of nothing, which seems to be a reoccurring theme here. They bring out something, MAGA media goes crazy about it. It takes a second for us to figure out where they got those numbers from. In this case, it's Elon Musk not understanding the difference between people being in the database and them receiving benefits. Which you would think the genius Elon would have been able to at least check himself on that. So then is it willful ignorance? Is it dishonesty? Is he putting out fake numbers on purpose, knowing that most people in MAGA aren't going to go fact check that because they want to believe it? Now, I should note, it's not to say that no fraud happens within Social Security. Of course, edge cases in any massive system like this are going to happen. So someone before their relative is technically registered to be dead but has passed away, but the documentation hasn't gone through, so they cash the check that came after the death, and technically that's not what you're supposed to do. Of course those things are going to happen. But every time we actually get audits on this, every time we see the investigations and the numbers that come of those, we learn, hey, there's actually a pretty good thing we have going here. And the number is so small of fraud taking place that it would be irrational to add all these extra layers beyond the ones that are already there extra obstacles, just like we talked about with food stamps, because what does that end up doing? It ends up accidentally kicking people off or restricting their benefits before it's realized, wait, no, actually this person is supposed to be receiving their benefits. And that's something that former Social Security Administration Commissioner Martin O'Malley, I should say, brought up on CNN.
Elon Musk has claimed that SSA is rife with fraud, suggesting that benefits are being paid to dead people, that millions and millions of dollars are going to waste. You're laughing, but that is a concern that a lot of Americans have. Is it not? Is it a laughing matter?
Well, yeah. He has no idea what he's talking about. There is not like a zombie apocalypse of people, cadavers running around with Social Security checks coming out of their pockets. On the contrary, what's more common that happens is, it's a big agency, so yes, there are outliers. It's 72.5 million people. Sometimes really desperate people will try to hide the fact that grandma died so they get a couple more checks. But more often, because of the checks we have in place, where we interrupt payments of people over a certain age, especially if they stop receiving Medicare benefits, we're more commonly more usual is that we have to restore benefits when we erroneously cut them off when somebody moves out of country or something. But no, Elon Musk, the co-presidents keep throwing stuff out on Twitter that's and that they can never back up.
Exactly. And he goes on to say, ask them for the evidence. Because it's pretty embarrassing when they do have to bring the receipts. It does remind me of the 8 million, 8 billion oopsie. It does remind me of the condoms lie. And it proves these are not the folks we want handling such sensitive matters. But what is this really creating? It's creating a pretense to then go in and gut Social Security. That's what it is. Oh, no, we're doing it in the name of fraud. Oh, there's so much fraud. Trillions of dollars of fraud. All of Social Security is actually just going to 200-year-olds. That's what it's creating. I don't know if it's purposeful or they have their own biases. So when they see a number and they don't understand it, they just start pumping it out. But very likely it's a combination of both. Really some misunderstanding and then exacerbating it with dishonesty. But I'm happy that he brought that up, Martin O'Malley, because we often don't talk about this when talking about the edge cases of fraud with some of these programs, which is whenever you add all of the layers of extra checks, then it ends up wrongly, negatively impacting people who are qualified for those programs, or adding all of this clerical and paperwork burden such that some people who tried to get food stamps, for example, end up not being able to get access to the benefits because there's all these layers. And that's what they don't consider. It's really bad to be kicking people off just because you misunderstand how many people are fraudulently taking advantage of a program. Here's Congressman Connolly making another important point on this.
Do you hear that he is looking at potentially stopping Social Security?
I certainly hear it an inferred threat to Social Security. And of course, the fallacy of this argument is they never look at revenue. They only look at expenditures. If you want to save Social Security, it's a fairly easy fix. Raise the income threshold subject to withholding tax, and you can extend Social Security by 40 or 50 years easy. And of course, he doesn't want to talk about that. He only wants to talk about the expenditure commitment. That's not how he runs his own company. At Tesla, he hasn't announced that whatever the price of Tesla is today, it will never change. Will never increase the cost to a consumer for our product. No company runs that way, and the government can't run that way either. So yeah, I hear a threat, and I hear a threat based on a false platform of we're only looking at spending.
There we go. Yes. This is something I brought up a lot, which is that they act like they're in the interest of fiscal responsibility, but they only look at one of the variables that's relevant to that, which is spending. And so, well, I should say they'll look at revenue only in their pursuit of cutting revenue, which makes the whole fiscal responsibility debt problem worse, so that they can shovel more wealth in the form of tax cuts to the wealthiest among us. So there's that. But also, even zooming into Social Security specifically, you see the perfect example of what I'm often shouting about, which is that they talk often about, sorry, we just have to at some point make the tough decisions. Otherwise, Social Security is just not going to be solvent. We're just not going to be able to fund this program if we don't make the tough cuts to your benefits. How often have you heard that? And you're thinking, is that the case? Is it just a factual matter that unless we cut the expenditures, there's no way this program's going to function in a few years? And it's just not true, because you could also look at revenue, which is to say that wildly, I've never understood this policy. There is a Social Security tax cap, meaning above $170,000-ish, around there, annually in income. Any dollars you make above that, above $170,000 per year, you don't have the Social Security tax applied to it. And so for someone making below that, every dollar that they make is having it taxed for Social Security purposes. Whereas people who make a lot more money than that, a lot of their income is not being applied, is not having the tax applied to, I should say. And so if you got rid of that and just every dollar that every person makes, it has the same tax applied to it as it pertains to Social Security, you would fund the program for years and years and years to come. But who does that exclusively negatively impact? Wealthy people. So they're not going to do it. Share your thoughts in the comments.